So, what have we been watching?
Nope.
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 I have not watched Nope, but you guys have.
I've watched
Yeah.
Nope.
So tell us what you thought of Nope
I
Wanna
feel
get
like I want
started,
to give
Marlon?
a,
without
I,
spoiling the entire movie,
yeah,
though.
I want to
Yeah.
give a non-spoilery.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we can do it.
one thing that is very apparent when I watch this movie is that they gave Jordan Peele all of the keys, not just one key, every key that he could possibly get. He opened every door and he did everything that he wanted to do. Now, in that, um, comes a little bit of a caution that I'm going to throw up. If you are used to movies that are very straightforward, if you're used to movies that will connect every loose end, this is not the movie for you. And I encourage you actually to not see it in the movie theater because you will be pissed. You will.
Wow.
This is not the movie for you. I'm serious, man. Like I've had maybe 10 of my friends see it that I know that are like more like casual moviegoers that are very used to a very specific type of movie. All
Right.
of them hated it.
Wow.
But my friends that are good at like okay with letting it breathe, good with something that's not quite as clear cut in the end, they tend to be a little more accepting of this sort of movie. But this is not the blockbuster movie that people were expecting. And I think that doesn't make it a bad movie. It just makes it a little different than I was expecting, and quite a few people were expecting. But overall, it's a fun fucking movie, man. Like it's fun, but it leaves a lot of questions after it ends. It's like, how did this happen? What happened here? Why are these things connected? How are they connected? Why the fuck did that happen? There's a lot of that's literally every tweet I've seen,
Right.
spoilery tweet that I've seen, and
Right.
I'm scared that that if he does one more like this, he's going to be M. Night Shyamalan to people. I don't want that to happen to him.
Yikes.
I'm not saying this is a bad movie. I'm just saying like what it does is incredible. But if you know what I'm saying, like I could give you Get Out as a crowd pleasing, very big movie that I'd watch with a ton of people.
Right.
Then as you get into Us, it's kind of, but then you get into Nope. I don't know if I'd show this to everybody.
So
It's
you're
it's
saying is he experiencing a drop off?
not a I
Because it
wouldn't say a
seems
drop
like
off.
I feel like you're like you're priming expectations and also sort of like
No, I like
apologizing or something.
no, I think that there's I'll say this, and I hope that I hope that I'm not insulting people, but I'm telling you, when it comes to summer movies, people want very simple things. It's like one, two, three, very easily explained. It just is what it is.
Right.
And when people come to the movie, sometimes, especially for what they assume to be a bigger movie, and it was a bigger movie, the budget, it's all on the screen. It's a gorgeous, expensive looking movie.
Right.
For what you get out of it, I think you get a lot more. It's a rewarding movie, but I don't know if it's for everybody.
It's fair. No,
It sounds like I'm insulting it though. That's not what I'm saying.
I,
It's
I'll
kind of
be honest. Like I'll be honest, my expectations are still the same level that they've been. Only because I
mhm.
kind of feel like I have a read on him as a filmmaker. But
All
I
right.
do agree with what you're saying though. Like even from the feedback I've heard from people that have shared like very general feelings about the movie without spoiling
Mhm.
anything for me, because again I got like a wall up because I don't want to have anything
Yeah,
spoiled.
yeah, yeah.
But like I have I've literally heard those same things you're saying, and it's just like um I think it's like I think it's like a collision of expectation
Yes.
whether it's of the summer movie or the fact that this is the new
Yes.
Jordan Peele movie, and the people that are in it, or if you're a fan of any of the cast or whatever it might be. But I'm only pressing you on it a little bit because it makes me so
Oh,
curious
sure.
because I've been hearing the same thing, which is not a good sign. It's
Here's the
not a
end
good
of it.
sign.
Here's the last part of it, though. I have been talking about this movie every day since I've seen it, and not in a shitty way. Just like it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's
Did Aaron
literally
see it
like
with you?
Aaron saw it with me,
Did
and
she like it or no?
she was. We didn't talk. We didn't talk to each other for like an hour after seeing the movie.
Okay.
Not because we were fighting. It just was like, what happened? What was that? But it would also like, I think this is going to be one of those movies that's like, as the years go by, people are going to be like, holy fuck, this may have been a masterpiece. I know that sounds crazy. Like I left feeling like I can't put my fingers on it the way that I could with certain other movies, but like I feel like I was watching something that felt like I will never see anything before it or after it. It felt very special. I know that. In the end, that's what it felt like. Like it felt so uniquely special to me. So that's how I feel. What do you think, John?
I don't know. I found myself like with half of what you were saying going like I just don't agree with that at all. Like I feel like this movie is not confusing. I feel like this movie is a super straightforward, simple narrative. I mean, like there's really not any mysteries for me outside of the ones that the movies, the one that this movie is not trying to answer. But like the whole idea that this is a confusing movie, I don't quite get. I do think it's a little bit of a slow pace, maybe a slow burn is a better way to say it. Kind of movie, but when this movie was really kicking, I was thinking like, oh, no one told me this was Jordan Peele doing Steven Spielberg. Like, there's a moment late in this movie where like the assemblage of characters that we have is such a fun group, and what they're doing is so specific, and they have such a plan, and it reminds me of like that early Spielberg kind of feeling of like, just this is like an adventure. Like somehow this has like there's a hopefulness or almost to this world that is different maybe from the horror that you're expecting. And the sort of sci-fi elements. I mean, we're not spoiling maybe some of the things that people even already think they know about this movie, but the design of the sort of unknown elements that when you see the movie they become a major part of it, but when you're watching the trailers it's just kind of a few shots here and there. The visual design of that stuff and the way it's pulled off is so inventive and so fun, and that's where to me you can see all the budget. But the way that Jordan Peele, I think there's a thing that happens with him that I find is a little bit like, I wouldn't want to put the pressure on a filmmaker that people seem to want to put on one of these directors that they fall in love with. I know what it feels like to fall in love with a director and look forward to their next thing. But this idea that Jordan Peele is the first horror director to make 3 masterpieces in a row, and he's the first horror director to bring social commentary, and he's the first person to invent a new kind of horror that's like a thriller but has a point to it. And it's like, no, he's just a guy who like knows his shit and makes like movies of a certain level. And what you said, Ronald, about the way that Get Out is so much more of a crowd pleaser because it's sort of got a simpler hook to it. And then Us has got like 2 movies that both are really cool, kind of grafted onto each other. There's this amazing doppelganger home invasion thing. And then there's this mythological piece that takes a lot of story lifting to do. And the stuff you remember and love from that movie is probably from the weird doppelgangers versus regular people kind of stuff. Yeah. And then once you go underground, it's interesting and cool, but it feels like it's losing a little bit of that simple momentum that made Get Out such a propulsive thing. But yes, Jordan Peele is a guy that at this point, they're going to keep giving him, they're going to say, well, we made what we need to make on this. There's a certain cachet to having a guy like this in our world as a filmmaker. He's doing this genre stuff. He's smart about it. So I kind of feel like in some ways that phrase blank check movie, does feel a little bit like this is Jordan Peele doing it his way, like you said, Ronald, like kind of not explaining it unless he has to. But I just thought it was so much more it felt so much more like a crowd-pleasing film when I was watching it, that I was thinking about those classic films of my youth where, and even Daniel Kaluuya, the character he gets to play, like, I've heard people say, oh, he plays a bland non-character, and it's like, have you guys never seen the movie where the lead is like a farmhand who doesn't say much? I've seen those movies. I love those. I love that Daniel Kaluuya gets to
Yeah.
play like the guy who's standing there and kind of slumped over. Even his posture, he kind of lets his gut hang out a little bit, and he walks kind of slow. He seems like a real guy who works with horses. He doesn't want to talk at length with anybody. I mean, Keke Palmer picks up the slack in terms of
Yeah,
being a
yeah,
character who
yeah.
talks. I don't know. I just found myself so much more charmed with the characters and the world. And I liked the way the little moments when there's a reveal. It's a simple reveal. It is sometimes very simple. Like they figure out certain things. Oh, this
Mm,
is how you avoid the danger. There's some things that are very simple that work, or this is how you invite the danger. You know, as it gets on in the movie, I felt like I could feel the same sense when this movie ended of the audience kind of being like half like, oh yay, like there were some people going kind of tepidly, and I was one of them. I was like, you're waiting for other people to do it, and you're like, oh, we're not gonna clap for the. I clap at movies. I'm a dum dum. But then there was this general kind of, you could feel people's, you know, rustling in their seats, and I was like, oh, I guess people. But I felt that at the end of Wes Anderson movies before. I felt that at the end of. I mean, I could probably start naming every like beloved director who gets to do what they want to do. Sometimes you
yeah.
get to the end and you feel like, oh, half the crowd was not here for that. But I love
Yeah,
when
yeah.
it went to black and said directed by Jordan Peele, you know. And if
Yeah.
I am going to give him credit for what he's doing on a certain level, like there are some neat things you can see are him trying to play with like classic horror tropes. And one of the things he does, this is one of those movies, not the first, guys. Let's calm down. Jordan Peele's not the first guy ever to do this, but he does a good job of um, making open space scary the way that normally in a horror
Yeah.
movie it's all about claustrophobia being scary. In this movie there are moments where a character is just out under the night sky and you're terrified at the possibility of what could rush out of those low-hanging clouds up above them, but you don't even know what it is yet. You just know there's something up there, you know.
Yeah.
And the idea of making the sky scary is one of my favorite
Me
horror
too.
sci-fi tropes that you can do, of
Yeah.
like suddenly the thing that represents hope is now nope.
Yeah.
But I don't know, and I mean I'm not trying to oversell it. I just feel like whenever I hear people talk about this movie, it's like, are they underselling the charms of this movie? Like it seems like it's a much more enjoyable movie, and the whole there's one subplot that really seems to throw people off. And I'm like, to me,
Yes.
the reason that's in the movie is so clear. It's such a clear metaphor for what's happening.
Look.
There's a certain character who his story is all tied up in this metaphor. And I want to say something about it, Ronald. Do you think the meaning of that plot line would have been more easily gettable by the audience if the original casting in that, because Jordan Peele wanted Jesse Plemons to play that character, not Stephen Yeun. Stephen Yeun comes along and is great, and he's great in the movie. But that Jesse Plemons would have played that character, and I think people would have gotten the point
Oh.
of it more if they weren't thinking there was something about like there was some racial component to that character's story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The plot. Oh yeah.
You would
Yeah.
have
Okay.
accepted a white boy in that part more
Yes.
as far as what
Yes.
the theme's trying to tell you.
I agree. I do. I do agree.
That's
But
just a thought I had.
you coined a okay. You coined a phrase that I am going to stick to. That you have to understand. It's like a thing. It's like um. There's simple momentum is a real thing.
Yes.
And what you have to understand is the average movie watcher is not coming for something that breaks too hard from what they know. I'm telling you, it's like that with technology. It's like that with movies, TV. It's like that about with everything. There's a simple momentum. There's like a thing. Get Out used the beats that you know, and then flip them upside down, right?
Yeah.
And then once you got into these last two movies, it's a little different. He really did kind of shake it up a little bit. One thing that has to be said is that the dynamic between Keke, Daniel, and Brandon Perea, his first movie, is fucking amazing. It's like Spielberg, it's like Stranger Things, it's like it's that fucking good. Like the chemistry between those three characters is unreal. Like,
and the humor that comes out of character, not out of like one-liners, but comes out of character is
yeah.
And
so
when the fourth character joins them later in the movie, that I thought that was a great addition to the vibe too. It was a funny, wild element. Anyway.
Yeah. So everything doesn't need a meaning behind it. Some things are just artistic choices, and I'm okay with that too. I'm okay with a random character. Why people? Okay, here's the new thing. The new thing is that Black people weren't in these things. That's what's new. It's not that.
Yeah.
these things never existed. It's that characters have never felt so lived in that were Black characters. That's brand new. It's
with a
literally a
history
thing.
and a legacy and a
Yeah,
family and all this.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you're right. You're
These
right
things
about
didn't
that.
exist before. So like that's
That's
the new.
exciting. That's exciting
Yeah.
to see still.
So
And that's
what you're
sad that
talking,
it's exciting.
yeah, what you're talking about is like the phenomenon of like artsy, kind of outside of the borders horror that you and I and Steve are very used to seeing. But audiences that never watch these stuff because they didn't have the representation, didn't hop into it. Like I could be like, hey, watch The Watcher, but my friend would probably be like, where the where the,
Right.
where the Black people.
No.
But it just is what it is. It just is what it is. Representation does matter, and it does subvert some of the expectations for what people are watching. So
I remember watching Us and feeling that too, that like this is just not the move, just a family going on a vacation and some shit happens to them.
yeah,
It's like the fact that it wasn't as much of like a racial allegory as Get Out was. Some people I think were thrown by, but I was like, oh, I see kind of what you're saying. And again, it's like I hate being excited to see it because it should be so that we're not excited to see it. But that is true. I mean, I'm not implying Jordan Peele's not doing anything new. What I'm saying
right.
is just that I think that like let's not put so much pressure on the guy that like he's a really interesting director and he's a really smart guy. Let's just enjoy his movies. And again, maybe you can sit one out. Maybe someone will say Nope was not for me. But I don't think it represents like a flag in quality so much as maybe he is, he's feeling his oats. He's definitely at a point where, as we've said, he can make the movie that he wants to make.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I will maintain I think this movie is if it's maybe too much of a slow burn, maybe that's the thing for people. But I think when it gets where it's going, it's got all the kind of the pulse pounding thrills you would want from this type of story. Yeah. And it's not like we haven't seen movies before that take their time getting to the crazy like effects.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, go ahead
and see Nope.
Yeah, for real.
Go
like
ahead and see Nope.
I legitimately cannot wait for you to see it, Steve. I'm looking forward to you seeing it, and I really want to know your opinion because I value you guys' opinion about movies. So
yeah, I'm excited. I might try to go see it tomorrow or maybe this weekend. Hopefully,
Cool.
if things line up, that'll be the plan.